Is your audio off, Reed?
His mic is muted because he's just waiting for us to go through all the impressions and stuff first. I started with Ric Flair, and I think Mike was doing Alex Jones. Reed's like, yeah, I was prepared for hell.
I want you right now. I want you. Okay, Ric Flair, I want you down in Austin. We'll go down to the butcher shop. We'll go down to the gun range. I'll take you any day of the week. MaleVitality.com, red pills. Ryan, you look like you need some colloidal silver. They got that in Japan.
Is Reed letting us carry the floor, or did he run away and regret doing this? Or
I think he's.
Let me get my brother in here too, and then it really goes to shit.
Oh, Scotty too hottie.
There you go.
Okay, well, I know Reed was having some. What happened with Reed? His internet went down where he was, so he was on his phone. So I know he's working on that. But yeah, we were talking. Mike and I did Reed's show last week, and we were just talking our shit and talking about Epstein and the wars and 9/11 and current events and Syria and foreign policy. And we're like, dude, we got to bring Dawson in on this, man. We got to form a 4 horsemen of the apocalypse with Dawson. So Reed reached out to you, Ryan, and you were down to do it.
The first person when I got kicked off YouTube the most recent time to have me on. He didn't even know I'd been kicked off. He knew I was kicked off Twitter. I was like, right. Oh yeah, I got kicked off YouTube too. And the other day I got kicked off Facebook again.
Yeah, so you're right. We had our chat in Facebook, and then he's like, "Oh, Dawson's too based. He's already gone from this chat."
I joked about it on Skype. I was like, "Yeah, we can do that, but I'm usually banned." And hours afterward, I got banned.
So now this is number 5 now, Ryan, from YouTube, right?
Hey, Booker T. I'm the five-time champion.
So when that happens, you don't even get a notification. You just get frozen out and it's all shut down and you lose everything.
See, it's different. They used to give you strikes and you'd have a chance to appeal. They didn't do any of that. They just, you're ovened, no strikes, no appeal, no explanation, no one you can talk to. 15 years of work just gone. I apologize for eating. I was going to eat. And then I had an hour-long conversation with Kirby Summers, a trafficking victim. And I just I basically talked all the way up until I had this show. I was like, I gotta go. I have a show. So I hadn't eaten. It's nice for my wife to throw something together.
What do you got there? Nice breakfast sandwich or something?
We didn't have much. I had cheese toast and almond milk and whatever, but I was outside. I got distracted, but I had a nice conversation. Went over all kinds of stuff. I debunked that whole Dugan crap. The cop in Florida that's allegedly had all these tapes.
Yeah, that dude who took off to Russia. Yeah, what's his deal? I wanted to get your take on him because he just went on Atwood's show, and the guy doesn't say jack shit. I mean,
he doesn't know shit. And what he did, he released stills from an actual pornography film and acted like it was Steve Burke because it kind of looked like him. It wasn't. And there were people that knew the porn actress and both the porn actor were like, that's such so-and-so from this movie. Right. And he can't even claim that, oh, I accidentally grabbed the wrong something because he flipped the image. So you took a still image of a video and then flipped it and tried to pass it off and say, well, this kind of could be Stephen Burke, or whatever. I'm sure Stephen Burke's a piece of shit on completely separate from that. But,
right.
I was like, you completely discredited everything you did, and every girl or victim that you are associated with, you are now harming all the legitimate things they've said by attaching themselves. He's it was cute-hard stupidity. And I said that from day one. I was like, this is a cop, so a liar, right? Yeah. And then his story was just like the dog ate it level dumb. And then when he put up those still images, probably thinking there's no way someone's going to know a random still from a porn from whatever year or whatever. But you're talking about the internet. and these autistic bitches would get in there and go, "Oh no, I know what that is. That's so and so and so and so from this film," and that's what it was.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love, Ryan. When after your channel got cocked, you were like, "Thank God for weaponized autism."
Yeah.
So you just have legions of Audi soldiers that are they're there to help you as best they can.
You know, when you really need it, you know, and you need to dip into 4chan or something, be like, look, I got a picture. I don't feel like wasting a week finding where this came from. Somebody will know, you know, and they're like, here it is. And yeah, it's weaponized autism. So people call me weaponized autism, but I'm like, no, I'm not even in the top 10. Like there's groups of people that will find the most ridiculous stuff if you set a task to it. So
I started watching that Q series on HBO, Into the Storm, and they go into the bowels of 4chan and 8chan and what's kind of behind all that and the characters behind that. It's just that's obviously where it originates and it's pretty interesting. I don't know if you've heard of that one or have started watching that as well. Yeah,
I didn't know that. No, I haven't, but I didn't know that. I thought autistic meant actually autistic, but when they say it, that's not what they mean at all. They just mean somebody is good at remembering facts and stuff.
Right. It's like internet slang. Yeah, they're not actually autistic. Right.
I'm like, why is everyone asking me that? I'm like, I'm not autistic. You know,
Reed, we got your back,
I
brother.
love this autistic guy, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Hey, can you guys actually hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, Ryan, thanks for coming back. Thanks, Mike and Jack, for coming back. Sorry about my technical difficulties. Just likely to happen when you try to organize something like this. For me, that's how it always works out.
It happens to
everybody. Ryan, last time I had you on, your YouTube video had just got zucked. So how's it been since then? Have you just been struggling to get your message out, or?
I'm definitely not reaching as many people as I used to, but it wasn't like a kill shot or anything. I still had my personal website. I had recently just built up a parlor. Of course, they yanked that too, and it just returned. We built something called, when I say we, I mean my nerds. I had nothing to do with it other than raising money for it, but something called PeerTube, where I put last 3 years worth of videos up on there because I had them saved on BitChute. And some of the older ones are on Alt Censored or somewhere out there in the ether. So I'm in the process of gathering my own work and republishing it again. But we are doing live streams, and I am not going to use Trovo or DLive or any of these middlemen anymore. I'm like, the same thing's going to happen and already has to other people. So I'm using PeerTube. It's blockchain, decentralized. That's the way to go. Audience is way down, but that's how it is every time I've been deleted anyway. So if I'm going to start over, why do it again on YouTube? You know they're going to erase it again. So I'm doing it on PeerTube and, going on shows. I was on Sean Atwood's show a couple times in the last 2 weeks. I'm doing this show today. I'm going to be at Libertarian Institute on Wednesday, and it'll build up again. Yeah, going on with Mancerator. It's gonna be good, Peter.
What you got to do, Ryan, is you got to build back better. All right, get some of that Pantene Pro V and Irish Spring Sport, put it in your hair, smell it, and smell back better.
Yeah, fall down some steps, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have Kamala's gonna do a great job empowering women with Bill Clinton. You're gonna get together. Let's listen. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. If I were there right now, I'd take you back and beat you in the shed, Scranton. Come on, man.
Is it Corn Pop's Revenge, Ryan?
I think, yeah, I made that film.
That's a good film,
I have it.
Yeah.
One of my maps. I had the Biden crime syndicate on something. Oh, here's a piece of it. Yeah, I started building this out.
Oh,
beautiful.
The Dawson maps are life, dude.
And the thing about Biden, even if you could just start,
it's like porn for nerds.
Yeah, people who give a shit and who are red pilled and not cucked.
It's like only half a map. What's it behind them?
Is that a pizza related map? What is that? But
this one is this one is the Kasich, and this other one is John McCain.
Weaver.
John Kasich, and John Weaver was an aide for John Kasich and John McCain.
Right.
And I thought, well, isn't that funny? Because John McCain's not only related to the Lincoln Project, but also the Lincoln SNL scandal in the 80s where Kemper Marler murdered Dan Bowles and blah, blah, blah. So I made a map for it because maps are fun. And y'all got to see my map tomorrow. I'm not done with it. I'm going to be working on it all night. I don't know if I should do the big reveal. There's an extra punch at the end. And it's all about Epstein's enablers, like the Wexners, the Bronfmans, the Steinhardts, the backbone of the mega group that is really the puppeteers in this whole thing. He was a construct. So working on the maps. I think visually it helps people because if you are not researching this stuff for years on end, you just someone just rattling off names. Like if I had Doug Valentine on here and we just started talking about the mafia, and we're like, oh, you know, no, you don't know. You know what I mean? People know like Capone, Hoffa,
De Niro,
Lansky,
Pacino.
maybe, yeah, and the Godfather or whatever, like fictional stuff. They don't know all these people. And the same thing with Epstein. They know maybe Clinton, Prince Andrew, Epstein, and Maxwell or something like that. You know, they don't know all the characters. So that's why I did a visual map for everybody and said, well, here are the assholes. Here's what they own. This is what they did. Here's all their charitable foundations and stuff. Do you see this artwork, by the way?
Yeah.
I didn't do it. It's Maria Farmer's painting of looks like Dershowitz there as a cockroach. Oh. You can't see the penis. It's too small because it's true to scale.
You show that on Atwood's show. Atwood was just simply delighted. He was like, "Oh, we can sculpt a peanut representation." Alan Dershowitz.
He asked me what it was, but I'm like, I know he knew what it was. But he wanted me to do it.
Like
I'm like, I'll say it.
Looks like one of the cockroaches in my jail cell when I was on ecstasy. Fantastic. So it makes the cockroach in my jail cell look bad.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do in prison, man.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm like, is there any difference? Didn't you eat British food before that? Hey, is that Tulsi Gabbard over your shoulder there, Mike?
Yeah. Hold on. Right there.
I'm sorry.
That's Tulsi.
Oh, yeah, we were all Tulsi supporters.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I got JFK getting my back, Ryan.
I've got JFK over here too,
with his head still on. It's nice.
Yep, the head's intact down there in Hyannis, looking for some girls fishing. Oh God, yeah, that's how we met Reed. We were all part of Tulsi's campaign here in New Hampshire in 2020, and that's how we crossed paths. And we recognized each other's power levels pretty quickly, and we knew that we were all based. So we knew we were.
Yeah, actually, one of the only anti-war people in the race.
Yeah.
Legitimately anti-war. Yeah.
Exactly. Not just rhetoric. Mm.
Yeah, Ryan, I actually
soldier too.
After I heard Ron Paul liked her, and then Carrie Wedler sort of liked her, and then you liked her, and I was like, okay, I guess I could like her and get away with it.
Yeah. Well, she was a Democrat in name, but like Ron Paul's Republican in name. He did run to be the Libertarian candidate twice. He only beat out Russell Means by 1 vote in '88. So,
really?
And both of those guys are based. Rest in peace, Russell Means. But only one of them was in Last of the Mohicans kicking ass, though.
I love when Ron Paul was on the Morton Downey Jr. show, just yelling at the crowd about eating cheeseburgers. And you ever see that clip?
Maybe someone should put you on a diet.
He's like, cheeseburgers are legal. Maybe you should stop eating cheeseburgers. He was
kind of a little heavy.
He was feisty back then.
Maybe you should start eating some gold.
Yeah,
well, it's like Krispy Kreme's giving away free donuts for vaccinated people. I'm like, I don't think everybody needs free Krispy Kreme donuts every day. They're like every day can come in and get a donut.
Now they're just
yeah, that's healthy.
That's a comorbidity. That's
what is it, like 80% of the people who died are obese or something like that from coronavirus?
Well, I didn't know Krispy Kreme was so based in trying to kill the dumb people that got a shot. No. I'm like, you should give them a whole bucket of free donuts. I'm all for that.
It's incredible.
Have you guys seen the Woody Allen documentary? Because I wanted to tie that in with Epstein because Alan was obviously friendly.
Is it the one on how to adopt your rape victim?
Oh.
Yeah, it's the Alan versus Pharaoh there. And I was reading an article, Ron. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but apparently Woody Allen was in a relationship with a gal who actually worked for Epstein. Have you heard that?
I know that Woody was visiting the islands and the rape mansions himself. It would make sense that she probably had a fake job. Like all those girls were they're employees. Because
right.
If you go to England or France or these places, they would pal around. It's like this. You have some kid with you. It's not your daughter or your niece or anything. Like what? Why are you hanging out with these 16-year-olds? Oh yeah, they work for us. They're receptionists or something.
That's my secretary. Yeah.
Yeah. My secretary, whatever. God. But I was talking to Kirby about this too. I know how black-pilled people are getting because they're sort of noticing a lot of this shit for the first time. Fucking billionaires are involved in organized international kidnapping and rape. That's a true sentence, right? And that makes you be like, God, what do we do? But I think they've never been more vulnerable. That's why people like me are getting banned on everything, or part of the reason is because they're afraid. If you look at the last 2 years or even a year and a half, which is like, just say July of 2019, Epstein went to jail and was murdered or suicided. Maxwell's in jail. Jean-Luc Brunel's in jail. Harvey Weinstein's in jail. Nygaard's in jail. I was doing them in order, but all right. Nygaard's in jail. Yeah. Peter Nygaard, I got some info on him for later too. And then of course Keith Raniere and Sarah and Claire Bronfman all in prison. Wow. Those are daughters of a billionaire, pleaded guilty for the Bronfman family, which is also a backbone for Epstein because Edgar Bronfman did that stunt with Joseph B. Tomei and Joe's Mineral Corp for that corporate takeover with Bear Stearns when Epstein was working there. A lot of these people went to prison. And then you had Prince Andrew was at least relieved of any responsibilities, which that should happen forever ago. Leon Block had to step down from a position. Wexner's trying to sell off his assets. So, minor victories there, but a lot of people in prison and a lot of people noticing. And there needs to be a boycott on all Nygaard products and all LL brand products. That's something the public can do, at least. If you want to just don't shop at Victoria's Secret, Bed Bath & Beyond, any of that crap ever. So I feel like for the first time they're on the defense and they're having to cover up a lot. And it's like Bill Clinton, right? Bill Clinton's on these planes. Hillary Clinton took money from NXIVM victims because you got a limited amount for campaign finances. So they were bundling money like Apex style and then having other people donate it on their behalf and recycling the money around. She took that money. So her and Bill are wrapped up on this. And of course, the Bronfman family is the bridge between NXIVM and Epstein. And it's ad nauseum, all these rings and all these procurers and groomers. And there are a lot of names on the map that are yet to fall, but people thought it would end with Epstein. It didn't. They got Maxwell. They got Jean-Luc Brunel. They got him. And they're going to have trials this summer. So that should be a white pill. As dark as it looks, the more you know, even though it pisses you off, it was happening before. Most people just didn't know about it. As the public gets more aware about it, they have to at least throw some underlings under the bus. Is it going to go above the mega group? No. I doubt it'll even reach the mega group. But can we get some of them? Sure. We already got some in prison, and that's more than we've ever got in the past, right? Dershowitz in trouble and being sued. He's, I think he's like 81, probably not worried about it. But, a lot of these people have already been grilled in the court of public opinion, and a lot of them still have trials yet. And then we've got Deutsche Bank on trial, and there's investigations into St. Thomas and the Antigua Bank, and, Stafford went to prison. Devin Archer's in jail. That's not for pedophile stuff for once, but he hung out with pedophiles. Yeah, he's a Biden guy. He was the brain. It was Chris Hines was the money and a connection with Kerry, and then you had Hunter, who's a fuck up. But
he's a good man. I can't wait for his book to come out. I can't wait for his book to come out. I'm so proud of him.
Do you know Hunter lives in Marina del Rey, like not just hundreds of feet away from where Peter Nygaard used to do all his meetings at the City Club?
No kidding.
These people are so stupid.
Then his ex-wife took the gun and threw it in the trash can behind that grocery store, and they had to get the Secret Service involved. And it
like episode of Trailer Park Boys. It's like Trailer Park Boys for rich people.
Yeah, it's comical. It's I mean, it's sad, you know, and it's pathetic, but it's also
getting foot jobs from high school girls, and
it's comical.
Like, there's $100,000.
So yeah, Maxwell's trial is in July, Ryan, or it's slated to start in July.
It's supposed to be July 12th, but you know these things move around sometimes. But
yeah.
Oh, she just lost her appeal, or her third attempt at bail, which she'll appeal and she'll lose that too. You know, probably they tried to assassinate a judge earlier last year. Actually, it was last year. Where the supposed anti-feminist went after the judge in the Deutsche Bank case, Salsa, and killed her husband, or killed her son and injured her husband.
Oh yeah.
You know, and to me, I feel like you gotta nail these banks, because as bad as the kitty fucking is and the rape rings, if you don't strike the root, these powerful hedge funds and banks that enable the whole process, then the Johns are so replaceable. You know, it's like chasing alcoholics around instead of going after the bar that's giving out free alcohol. Like you gotta hit them in the financial zone, and that's where they are. Like Harvey Weinstein being in prison, great, but like Hollywood itself needs an audit. You know, all these casting couch victims and stuff, and all these stories we've heard, especially from child stars. I mean, it's like all of them. It seems like there was an attempt at it or it happened. They need to be listened to, and the hammer has to come down. And there are other people involved with the Clintons from the blue states, the blue cities in California that were drugging young black men, and several of them died that they were raping. And, you know, it's like, how long does this have to go on before we can get these Clintons in prison? Because every time there's a story, Epstein or Nexium or whatever it is, you see a Clinton and you see a royal. I call Prince Andrew the Kevin Bacon of pedophile rings. Oh. It's actually written
6 degrees.
I got a calendar somewhere. Hold on a second. You know, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon is an American thing. It's an actor that's a little game people would play, like, well, so Kevin Bacon's in this movie with so-and-so, who's in this movie with so-and-so, like that. And apparently no one is more than 6 degrees away from Kevin Bacon. Well, you can't find a pedophile ring that ain't 1 degree away from Prince Andrew.
Ryan, you got all the documents. You have all the literally, Ryan, you have every document, Ryan, right behind you, ready to go.
There it is.
All the documents.
Prince Andrew is the Kevin Bacon pedophile ring.
You got it on a fucking calendar.
Get that trending on Twitter.
I got Thomas Sowell on this. Look, check out her mask, says dehumanized. Nice. And of course, we put her in handcuffs in an A&C report shirt. But
that's artistic.
The picture you didn't see is I had her pretend to step on my webmaster's balls and yell at him. And it didn't need it for the calendar, but I was short on money. I said, well, I'll pay you like this. No, I'm kidding. No, we did make the dehumanized mask, though. I was like, if I have to go on a plane, you have to wear a fucking mask. So mine said dehumanized on it. But as soon as I got on the plane, I kept inching it down. And then I'm like, what are they going to do? It's a 10-hour flight. They're going to turn around? I just took it off. They told me, sir, can you put your mask on? I said, nah, I'm allergic to stupid.
They're going to DB Cooper you.
I was like, I'm wearing an End All Aid to Israel shirt and a dehumanized mask, and I just told you I'm allergic to stupid, and my bag's full of nothing but like Confederate flags and stuff. I'm like, you really want to argue with me? about this.
Jesus. That's a hot potato.
You know, just let them not wear a mask. And I didn't have to wear it. It's great.
Just let that be. Just let that be over there.
I'm like, why do I have to wear a face diaper? So I was like, because I don't care if like I can't fly on that plane again. I'm like, I'll just use a different airline, no big deal. I'm like, I don't intend on coming back anyway. I was only going to the U.S. to get my money out of the bank so Biden doesn't steal it and bring it all to Asia. Because I've already been banned on PayPal and Patreon, and I've seen other people, Wells Fargo is canceling people and stuff. I'm like, well, I better go empty my savings account because the free country in the United States will just steal your shit. So now it's somewhere else. I won't even say where. It's not.
That was recently. Weren't you here a couple weeks ago or something, right?
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago, something like that. And I went to California because I can't fly to the East Coast anymore. I'm too old. I have to break up that flight or I go crazy. So I stopped in LA and I had some people to visit there and stuff. And then I went to the free state of Florida, where my bank was and dealt with that. And then I stopped in LA again. I spent most of the time in Huntington Beach and stuff because LA is like totally like they're all eating outside and wearing masks and they have plastic walls between stuff, and it's terrible. There's 4 times as many homeless people as any time I've ever been there. And the stories I'm hearing from people, it's like they're in prison and they got to escape. It's like one more day of it, I would have gone fucking AWOL. I'm like, I don't know how you live like this. I couldn't do it. We went to some Italian restaurant in Huntington Beach, no mask, eat inside, and their answer machine is great. It's like, it tells you about the restaurant, and then it says, if you're calling for death threats,
press 2.
All these people act like you're going to kill everyone. I'm like, yes, there's a 0.02% chance of rain. You're going to walk around with an umbrella everywhere? No. Yeah, these mask holes, it's like you can't do math. You're afraid of your own shadow, and it's just a litmus test of authoritarianism. It's like, you don't tell me where I can eat and when I can eat and how much I can breathe, and I have to put something on my face. Fuck off. So
yeah, and now they're talking about the COVID passports to travel.
Yeah, because the vaccine doesn't stop COVID, but a passport will.
Yeah, exactly.
And, citizens can't move in and out of their own borders, but illegal immigrants can.
Yeah,
right?
Did you see Ted Cruz down at the border? I am down here near the Rio Grande right now in the bushes, and there are literally coyotes muling people here at $4,000 and $5,000 a piece. It's all over Twitter right now. I mean, I'm here for it, dude. It's fucking incredible.
Like in Britain, that like they don't close the borders. They have migrants coming in on boats and stuff from who knows where, no mask or nothing. But a British citizen can't leave and come back. Can't leave unless it's for medical reasons or something. I'll be like, okay, for my sanity, I have to leave. There's a medical reason, but migrants can come pouring in. We just had a standoff. A guy I know is a Palestinian American. His name is Omar Shaf. Probably wasn't in the news. His house was surrounded the other day for red flag laws. He wanted his girlfriend to come to him. This guy's getting ready to get a bullet in the head from the police. And I got on a Zoom call with him and tried to talk him down, but everyone else on the Zoom call was like, yeah, fuck these pigs. And I was like, no. This is not worth your life.
Right.
Anyway, he wanted his girlfriend to come, and she was in Canada, so they wouldn't let her through because of COVID. Couldn't get across the border. I'm like, if only she was in Mexico, then they'd pay for the whole thing. It's like, and it's got nothing to do with migrants or any of that stuff. It's just importing votes for Democrats. That's all they give a fuck about. They don't care about those people at all. They're in overcrowded hotels and kids in cages and stuff as it is. And it's like, I mean,
those are called overflow facilities now.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Overflow. I don't care about who lives where or whatever, but if you're going to have a welfare state, you can't have open borders. Like, pick one. You can't do both.
Yeah.
And that's what the only problem.
Right. It's not
no one gives a fuck if people from Mexico live in the United States. They just don't want, or Guatemala or whatever. They don't want them living there. If they're going to be living on the dole, and you got to pay for it. I mean, who would? I mean, otherwise nobody would give a shit. The problem is that is reality, and you're not allowed to say it, or you're a racist. I don't even want people from California going to Texas. You keep your dumb ideas where you came from. Don't come down here because you ruined where you live. and then ruin where someone else lives. I was like, your own stupid policies are why you have scat apps in San Francisco to watch out from the poop on the ground.
Oh,
And homeless shelters under every overpass is nothing but tents,
that's fucking
and drugs
horrifying.
and syringes and stuff. And it's like, this is an American city, the richest place in the world, and you've got homeless cities inside a city, which has empty buildings and stuff. And it's like, and then you've got Section 8 where they're giving people free shit. So their neighbors are paying rent, but people of a particular color can live right next to them for free. And then the rent goes up because, like, oh, the government's going to pay. Well, now it's double what it was last month. And the people who were paying there end up having to move. And then all these freebies get in there, and which they love because the government foots the bill. And it causes resentment between, those who pay and those who don't. And it makes everything worse. And they don't see, there's like zero foresight. It's like, well, we'll import these people in. They're completely dependent on us for their everything they have, so they'll always vote for us. As they realized they could vote themselves money, and they took it.
But it's not really helping people who need real help or need big changes in their lives. It's just making them more dependent on government and perpetuating more stereotypes for certain people. So yeah, it doesn't
so much conflict.
It doesn't help anybody really. And I think I read that 1/3
it helps
of
the real estate owner that's getting paid enormous amounts of money through this fraudulent program, by the government. But it's like, God, those people that were staying there and already were paying the taxes for the people that replaced them. They're the ones that paid for their own displacement and then got forced out. And they've got this stress of making rent, and then they got someone living next to them that can use the pool and the tennis court, whatever, and spend all their money on partying and shit because they're not paying for rent.
I'm sure there's plenty of room in Buckingham Palace. We should.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure the Queen can
they
make
stole their wealth
cookies.
anyways.
Yeah. No, it's great, like you were saying earlier, Ryan, to see finally some billionaires there's some accountability for that class of people. And the sheen on the royal family has been tarnished, and finally in our lifetime we're seeing that. It's
all the cousin fucking and colonization wasn't bad enough, but sex scandal.
Exactly. It takes something like that, or Meghan Markle to go on with friggin' Oprah or something. And Oprah actually, didn't she do an episode of her show with Night Guard?
You had a billionaire talking to multimillionaires about how hard life is.
Yeah.
And whether they worried about their baby or something, I'm like, look, it's a recessive trait. Your baby's probably not going to be a ginger. Calm down.
Right. Yeah, right. They're up on this like nice patio, and they're just woe is me. Yeah, people, like you said earlier, Ryan, people are starting to really see through the shit.
I'm like, that woman's shoes cost more than everything in my room.
Yeah, it's true. No, it's true. It's true, and it's a complete detachment from reality. And it is. We are seeing a lot of these people getting knocked
Reed
down.
Sitting very still, or did his phone go out?
He's having some internet issues, man. Yeah.
Oh man, because that was like.
Yeah.
He did the mannequin challenge.
He's just like, I'm not buying this at all. Oh, we dropped. Oh well, we got nothing but twins on the stream now.
Just gotta get your brother in here.
Scotty too hotty.
I can't. Oh well, my Facebook's banned, so I can't message him.
Is he banned? Your brother?
No, but I am, so I can't say anything.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I could Skype him, but yeah. Get in here and ask him about Lincoln, and then just wait.
So you said earlier, Ryan, above Mega Group. Who is above Mega Group for people who might not know that?
Well, I mean, this isn't my channel, and that will get him removed.
Yeah, we don't want to hurt Reed's channel.
The SR. What should I do? Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
I'll say it later. I've said it many times, but I don't know. That will definitely. That's like an automatic oven.
Hey, Ryan, while I'm actually connected, I did want to ask you something. I've been talking to Dave Smith a lot lately, and we've been talking about how the woke shit that's really gone after you, especially, it's definitely like a corporate plot that the left has been taken advantage of with. And even just after I had you on the show the first time, a lot of people on Twitter were canceling me. And then I had Pete Quinones on, same deal. They were going after me. Have you seen that to be like a corporate plot as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to tell if it's corporate or just normal leftist cancel culture crap. It's like they are on a witch hunt and they got a boner to find a Nazi to bash so bad, and there just aren't really any around, like that is right. It's like looking for the sorcerer or something, like nobody's a fucking Nazi. Like there's so few in number you can name them. And so, but they use that label on whatever they want because it's like a magic word. So is racism or sexism or, pick any of those epithets. And so what I get tagged with is this Holocaust denial bullshit. And it started from this guy, Adam Holland, who wrote this hit piece on me because I was on RT. I don't work for RT. He said I did. I never have. He said I was friends with hate criminals. I don't know who that refers to. I don't have any criminal friends. And this goes on and on. It's this guilt by association crap. But it's like being accused of rape. Even if you're exonerated, you're done anyway. It's such a horrible thing to be accused of that you're just tainted and you wear that forever. And I can't even explain that event on YouTube because you'll get banned. Even though I'm not going to say anything bad, you just can't have a nuanced view at all. Right. Mm-hmm. You can't say, and I can't even say what I can't say. That's how touchy that crap is. And the same thing about the virus or global warming or a lot of topics. Like if you are not full on, we're all going to die tomorrow with this kind of stuff and the Earth's gone in 10 years, then you're a denier of the whole thing. And there's a lot of shit in between Earth gone in 10 years and no global warming at all. Right. There's lots of in between, but right. That's not how it is online, and I can't even make the example I want to make, but yeah, I know there's this guy, Gabe Hoffman. He's like a hedge fund manager. He's got like hundreds of millions of dollars, and he personally follows me around and writes corporations to get me canceled on them, like Streamlabs, Patreon. He was bragging about it on Twitter. Like he got me kicked off Google AdSense and said his Patreon's next, right? He got me kicked off PayPal. And they're like, now we're going to go after his Patreon. And they did, and they did, and they did. And then they got me kicked off Patreon. So I got a dedicated group of haters, some very wealthy ones, who I do find in photographs with Dershowitz and stuff. So you know why? Because I put all these billionaires' names on a map and tell everybody they're raping kids and financing house demolitions and all the shit they actually do. And I'm not being sued because everything I said is true. But what they can do is go around and smear me with whatever label. I don't even know what they say. I know the Holocaust thing is one of them. And you just go around and peg you to that. And anybody's show you've been on, they'll peg you with that. And I'm pretty much a free speech absolutist. So I have talked to all walks of life. I've talked to David Duke. I've talked to Gillett Osmond. I've talked David Cole, like all the black sheep. And I've also talked to, a ratio of probably 900 to 1 of run-of-the-mill type guests or whatever on things. And I've talked to communists. That didn't make me a communist. I've talked to anybody of the political spectrum, but it doesn't matter. It's like it ain't like I agree with these people either. Like a lot of times we're getting heated arguments, but it doesn't matter. Like, oh, you can't speak to so and so, or if you do, then you're everything that person is, which is retarded. I try to get in debates with neocon. I've talked to IDF soldiers. I sure as shit don't agree with any of that. I've talked to Christian Zionists. I sure as hell don't agree with any of that. I've talked to racists and won those arguments. And I've talked to Holocaust revisionists and I won those arguments too. Like Eric Hunt is no longer a revisionist because of me. Because I actually sat down and listened to all his arguments and gave him counter arguments instead of just saying Nazi and throwing a microphone at him. Like, if you want to defeat these ideas, you have to listen to those ideas and tell them why they're wrong. And through dialogue, that's the only way. Because like, if you tell a communist you're a fucking communist, they're like, yeah, and because they are. And if someone's a neo-Nazi and you call them a neo-Nazi, they're like, so. That's not an argument. You have to have an actual argument. But if you even engage with any of these untouchable people, the left will use it as an excuse, because what they really don't like is your anti-war position, your anti-corruption position, and the way of getting around that is attack you on something else. So, and
Yeah,
I've been on. I think I was on dates. I know I was on there once. It might have been twice. Can't remember, but I'm sure he got shit right after I was on a show. I was like, here they come.
Yeah, well, that's staying consistent, man, and that's why we have all the respect for Ron Paul, because he's been saying the same exact thing for his whole career, and it's bulletproof. His ideas are bulletproof. What he's talking about is reality, the banking system, the Federal Reserve.
He defended this.
The creature from Jekyll Island. Yeah, he's certainly has talked about the flag, the battle flag, rebellion, all that, and yeah, we just here in America, man, we think it's just complete inversion of reality. We're just completely, people's heads are so far up their asses about things and so reactionary and emotional about things. Like you said, we can't have a nuanced conversation. And even if you're seen talking to someone you don't agree with, like I'm very friendly with a lot of Christian evangelical people here. And, when I was younger, my approach used to be a lot more emotional, and I was edgelord atheist.
I lift weights with a missionary.
I like that.
And
I'm here for that.
We lift weights together, and we don't talk about religion. Well, he does. I just
yeah. So the point I was making is we have to still be able to talk to each other, and we have to have a forum and a platform where we can do that. So that's kind of the point of why I was really excited to be a part of this and do this and put it out there and show people and maybe encourage and give people a little bit of empowerment to say, yeah, you can talk to people you don't agree with, who don't agree with you, and not yell and scream at them, and actually have a conversation, hear them out, they hear you out, and everyone might learn something.
What I don't understand is, like, I'm alive. Like, if you're gonna write this crap about me, like, why don't you ask me about it? I'm right here. And they don't because they know it isn't true. I was like, I'm right here. And the Daily Beast and CBS and other people that have smeared me, and I'm like, did you even bother trying to contact me to ask about any of these things, whether they're true or not? No, because they just want a story. And they're like, this is clickbait, and that's all it is.
Yeah, oftentimes a lot of the so-called journalists and people who go on the attack, they haven't done any kind of real research. They don't even really care to look into it or see what the real underlying issues are with the subject that they're even talking about. And that just does everyone else a huge disservice too, because that might be the only glimpse they have into Epstein or into whatever story.
And that's the saddest thing, is the people that are actually going after the architects of war and their lies and the pedophile rings and all that are the first ones canceled. And they'll just find some ism to cancel you about. And that's an excuse. And all the crap that gets considered hate speech nowadays, hate speech is supposed to be considered advocating violence toward some sort of minority or religious sect or ethnic group or something like that. But really, hate speech is just whatever speech they hate. My most recent ban on Facebook was because I saw for like 4 days in a row all this crap of people claiming that the Asian race is under attack by evil, angry white guys or something, because one guy went around and shot up people at massage parlors. I think he killed 6 Asians and 3 white girls, whatever. And he happened to be a white gunman. That was all evidence they needed. A white guy killed some Asian people. It turned out he was a sex addict killing workers, probably, happy ending massage people, whatever. But it's just an isolated incident, one dude. And I was like, you can't blame this on a race of people versus another race of people. I mean, I'm glad you're not racist, but that's ridiculous. Like, that guy did that. His fucking genes didn't make him do it. He didn't do it because he was white. He didn't do it to them because they're Asian. He did it because he's fucking fuck up. And I was like, Virginia Tech shooter was Korean and killed 25 white people. Nobody in the media blamed that on race, and shouldn't have, because it wasn't. He was a lunatic that just shot people at his school. His school's mostly white, so that was most of the victims. That's all it was. But nowhere did the media blame it on his Koreanness or his Asianness. And nowhere did they bring up that the majority of the victims were white kids either, because it didn't matter. And it shouldn't have mattered this time either. But like, they are trying to divide people. And my family's Asian now, my kids are all Asian. I'm like, I don't want people being afraid to go outside because they think the white people are after them or whatever. It's ridiculous. And Yet that's what it was, because that's what they wanted it to be, because they want to have a witch to burn. So they see racism everywhere and blow it way out of proportion. Like, the guy was a murderer. That's what makes it, and he's in jail, as he ought to be, and he'll probably get the death penalty. But he wasn't killing people because of race. But everything for the left is race. So all I did was post a thing saying that comparison with the Virginia Tech shooter and this guy, and how the media treated this and how the media treated that. That was hate speech. And I was actually saying the exact opposite of hate speech. Like, don't be racist, because it is racist to say the whites are killing Asians or whatever. You are allowed to bash on white people on social media. You are allowed to. And I'm like, how is that not racist? Look at these kids. Whites are now 75% of suicides. 75%. Somebody's speakers.
Little echo chamber.
White kids. And I think Native Americans are second highest per capita. And the lockdown and all the bashing, like collectivism. I'm like, how can you see so clearly how wrong it is to say these things or act like this about blacks, Hispanics, or whatever, but then you do it to the exact same things you just criticize to another group of people, to men or to whites or straights or whatever. I'm like, what happened in your brain where, like, this is when it's wrong, but the exact same type of prejudice and collective thinking is okay when you blame it on these people? And it's like, and it's because it's allowed. And so I'm like, you're not risking shit. You bash it on people because it's allowed. You're being a racist dick, and under the guise of being anti-racist. So it's just disgusting, I think. Oh, here comes Reed. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Everyone's getting banned for this type of shit. It's like, well, I don't want to defend anybody because, you'll get labeled a racist or something. And the judge that just got caught with kiddie porn, who was the president of a drag queen story hour or whatever. What's his name? Burke. What's his fucking name? Whatever. He gets out on $2,000, whereas Kyle Rittenhouse was like $200,000 or something, and he was just a child defending himself from a child rapist, because Joseph Rosenbaum, the first person he shot, had just gotten out of jail for raping a pair of twin 5-year-olds. Piece of shit, communist and Antifa, got killed because he was attacking somebody holding a gun. And if you even say Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong on Twitter, you'll get banned. But and if you say that it was wrong for this pedophile judge, to be doing what he's doing, you'll get banned. Child abuse is like perfectly legal on Twitter and Facebook. Yeah, give hormones to babies, whatever. They don't give a fuck. And Twitter itself allows child porn. There are people, the victims, the kids that are in the porn, pleading to get it removed from Twitter, and they wouldn't do it. And their whole safety team or whatever went and looked at it and go, we find this doesn't violate our guidelines. It's like it's 13-year-old kids being blackmailed into sex acts. We know that from the kids and their parent, and they wouldn't remove it. But say something about Kyle Rittenhouse, you get removed. Write the wrong opinion on the election, and you'll get a warning or get removed. It's disgusting. And that's the world we live in. Like, it's okay to advocate, chemical lobotomies for 6-year-olds, giving hormones to children and stuff. That's okay. And you can preach that all you want. And but they want to normalize pedophilia and get rid of law. In California, homosexual rape of kids has almost no punishment now in certain counties. It's like, well, as long as they consented, it's not rape. Like, if they're 10, they can't consent. Or a child. Nope. You can steal up to, $900 worth of stuff, and they can't call the police. It's like, you're being run by criminals. You're being completely run by criminals.
Yeah,
I hear somebody eating.
That's some outlaw stuff.
Yeah.
So you mentioned.
Me off. I fucking hate liberals.
Couldn't tell. So
yeah.
we were talking on Skype. This is kind of shifting gears a little. I wanted to ask you about the George Tenet leaked audio out of regarding Yemen, and was it Yemen, right?
Anwar al-Awlaki.
Right. Tenet was this was probably, what year would this been? The early 2000s.
Yeah, it would have been right after the USS Cole bombing, because that's why he was in jail.
Okay.
All these guys, all these Al Qaeda people were in prison, and all of them got out. It wasn't. So it's like, besides, Yemen saying so, what evidence do we have that was Anwar al-Awlaki? Could have been al-Hazmi, could have been a lot of them, because they all got out.
Wasn't John O'Neill investigating the Cole when he was in the FBI? That was one of his.
Yeah,
they were cucking him.
Danger.
Weren't they cucking him on that? He was getting cucked by the higher ups.
He was, and you all know the story. I think we went over that when we talked about 9/11 last time. But, they murdered Anwar al-Awlaki, and they murdered his son, they murdered his nephew, and they murdered his 8-year-old daughter. But this guy was not some, he's an American citizen. Everybody made a big deal out of that. Oh, Obama's drone striking American citizen, But he had been an asset for a long time. And let's put a question mark on who Tennant's talking about, because he just said, this is my guy, this is my person, this is my problem. So he's the DCI, the director of Central Intelligence for the CIA, and he's got a guy that he wants to be released from prison in Yemen. So it's a pretty narrow list of people who that could be, who's in Yemen that is an asset for the CIA. But let's say, even though the Houthi media and stuff is saying it's Anwar al-Awlaki, which I agree with, that's not enough evidence, let's say. Well, then you go through and you can find the FBI reports themselves saying, holy crap, isn't that your guy? Talking about Anwar al-Awlaki. And the fact that he bought plane tickets for Muhammad Atta. I mean, Jesus. Like, if he's not an asset, then he's just regular Al-Qaeda. You know what I mean? It's like, he bought tickets for the ringleader. And the thing is, as you know, they had that whole Hamburg cell bugged way before 9/11 happened, with the exception of Al-Jarrah, who didn't stay with the rest of them. And this is the one that has 2 first cousins working in Israeli intelligence. We find out later Yusuf and Ali and Ziad Al-Jarrah were a ring. But Atta and the rest of them had already been bugged, and they had also bugged a hub where they stayed in Yemen. Right? There's pictures of it in Empire and Mass. I went through all that crap. And so I totally believe that they're talking about Anwar al-Awlaki, because it fits all the other parts of the puzzle, that's who it's got to be. And if not, who else? Because if you start picking the other people that were in jail, it's worse. Because they had been known terrorists, though.
So why then do you think they're leaking this right now? What do you think significant about the timing of the leak?
Because the Houthis got hold of it. I mean, before, Hadi is the one. There was a guy that reported on this, Rubenstein, that we should mention that should get some credit for putting this story out. Although I disagree with one of his assessments there. The former president is not the problem, Abdullah Salik. It was President Hadi that was the State Department's pick. Hillary Clinton praised the election of a race where nobody contends. It's just one person. And that's who had to flee. And the war in Yemen is complicated because there's an Al-Qaeda segment, there's the Houthi and Shia groups, and then you have obviously the Saudi Arabia, war with Saudi Arabia and the UAE. And then Saudi Arabia and the UAE were both using mercenaries. About a year ago, the UAE dropped that. They lost a helicopter full of soldiers, and they're done with the mercenary things. But the UAE's already annexed the island of Socotra, which is part of Yemen. Like, people think of Yemen as, Yemen near Oman, but part of Yemen is also this island to the east is part of that country. But the ports and the only airport, docking, etc., is all run by the UAE right now. So it's like the UAE did to Yemen what the Kurds have done in Syria. They just stole a piece of it. And I don't even think most media ever even talk about that, but it's very important in the maritime Silk Road. That island is, as is the port of Aden, as your choice is that or Somalia, right? So that's a choking point. And right now, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because they closed the Suez Canal. But you heard about that. I mean,
oh God, I would not want to be that guy.
I mean, Israel's attacking all these Iranian ships, and you have the new pipeline between Germany and Russia. the Nord Stream line is up, and so that suddenly they close the Suez Canal. And yeah. But this is called the Maritime Silk Road. It's the primary reason why there is a war in Yemen. And anyway, so Hadi was the piece of shit that Hillary backed. That's my point. And they're the guys that were fighting with the Houthi. And it's not like the Houthi are my team or something. Like none of these they all have their own little interests, but that is the side defending people starving to death in Yemen from foreign invaders and Al Qaeda. So they are the best option, right? And I have to give props to them when I see videos of like a Houthi soldier using like World War II or like Vietnam era bazooka and just eyeballing it and hitting armored vehicles. So I was like, damn,
using
maybe
the force.
Allah is real, because it just goes like, he goes right under and nails it. I'm like, holy shit! He is the Larry Bird of bazookas,
threading the needle.
And speaking of letting terrorists and assets out of prison, did you see that in Pakistan they let Omar Saeed Sheikh out of jail? The fellow who basically coordinated the Daniel Pearl kidnapping and was connected to the ISI chief there, Mahmoud Ahmed.
Yeah, who we also know was helping launder money to hijackers. That's so similar to a lot of these guys that are in and then get released from Gitmo, right? And just go right back to it. It's weird. And I don't understand how that happens more than once. You know what I mean? Like the first time that happens, so and so is released from this prison and they just went straight back to the network. It's like, okay, why were they in Gitmo in the first place then? And why isn't Osama Basnan and Omar Bayoumi in Gitmo? Like, why you're not arresting the middlemen that were used? And they knew Amar Alaki, by the way. Osama Basnan did, at least. They used to get hookers together and everything. Because Amar Alaki ran the San Diego Mosque for a while and knew three of the hijackers. And then he reopened it. He had another, he preached in Falls Church, Virginia, like right next to Langley, basically. And they just let it be. Now, he did condemn 9/11, whatever. You had to do that right after the fact. But, his words just didn't match his actions. He knew the Fort Hood shooter, right? Now, that is not really his fault. It's not like, okay, this guy attended your lessons or whatever, and then he did something stupid. That's not any kind of direct thing, but it's like, if you have a whole bunch of those happen, it's circumstantial evidence, and that's not nothing. That's something you got to add to it. But anyway, that's what you're saying about Ahmed, though. It's like people need to know the history of the ISI and CIA's relationship in creating Al Qaeda in the first place. Right. And now you can blame the BCI bank on the Saudis that was physically located in Pakistan, but the ISI was right there. Like, its whole formation comes from the CIA, and it's always been aiding these, what I call proxy force of terrorists that at the time was called freedom fighters. But those relationships didn't end, and it's not that long ago. You're talking about the 1980s. Most of these people are still alive and still doing the same shit they were in at the time, right? And Bush Senior's gone, and some of them, but guys, CIA guys were there for a long time. Farland was there all the way through the 80s. Fucking Elliot Abrams is still there.
Venezuela.
Trump had him. Yeah, Trump had him in his admin.
Yeah, and he was in all of them, right? I mean, he's been there from like Bush Jr. to now. And some other people that kind of come and go, like John Bolton was in Bush Jr. and Trump's. Well, he got fired, but he was briefly in Trump's admin too. And it's a rotating door. The party doesn't. It barely matters. It's not a dime's worth of difference when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like Clinton financed these guys. Some of these guys fought in Bosnia. Like on our side. They knew, and he's the one that they had bin Laden. Clinton had every chance, 4 or 5 times, could have killed him, and didn't. And it's because it's like, in my opinion, 9/11 was a real plot from Al Qaeda that several intelligence agencies got wind of. And like, yeah, let them. This will be awesome. We can replace the whole Cold War. And George Tenet is one of those assholes. And he got mad in a swimming pool.
Yeah. With all the scotch.
The story. yeah, and apparently sleeping pill. I don't know if I buy that part, but these neocons are going to pin the WMD myth on me. Like,
slam dunk.
Kind of knew about it and didn't say anything, but yeah, the neocons are responsible for the WMD list. Like, if you're going to pin that on just a few people, it would be Miller, Judith Miller, Richard Pearl, obviously. Every time, right? And then I guess Fife, because the OSP was out of his office, even though he was just a muppet. And then the guys that wrote it down, like Gary Schmidt, James Woolsey, and Crystal and Kagan. That's where the lies came from. And then those lies got reiterated by people like Condoleezza Rice and Dick Cheney, and all the mass
Colin
media.
Powell.
Oh, William Sapphire being another
Weekly
one.
Standard.
Yeah, Colin Powell. Colin Powell is just doing what he's told.
And of course, they wouldn't have been able to make it happen without Joe Biden not allowing Lincoln Chafee to dissent in the Senate or any kind of real debate or discussion. And that's been glossed over since Biden's been running for president this time, vice president before. I mean, people don't even. It's barely even acknowledged.
And John Kerry on Senate Armed Service Committee, and also State Department. They had every chance. And Hillary. Same thing. She's in the Senate and same place, and then in the State Department. Never president, though.
He stopped her, didn't he? He blanked her.
He did. No, he did.
WWE fucking world champion Donald Trump.
Do you think he'll come? Do you think he'll be back in 24, Ryan? The King will reemerge.
It depends on how age treats him,
Yeah.
But,
I'm so young. I can't believe how young I am. I'm like the youngest.
He'll be focusing
person.
on pumping up the 2022 midterms, I think.
Midterms, yeah. And he said that's when he's going to decide. He's going to announce after 22 midterms if he's going to do it. But I think
hated him because he would not continue their war in Syria. It's like he did everything else, but he didn't do the main thing. So
right, like Reed says, 9 out of 10 times he did the bidding of the establishment. But there's that one time where he does something super base, like wanting to stop Syria.
He was like, he had run so much on bashing Jeb Bush and stuff for the Iraq quagmire, so he can't then go do the same dumb shit. He's like, let them handle it.
Yeah.
He's like, how do we benefit from this?
What are we getting out of it, Ryan? We get nothing. At least take the oil. We should take the oil.
Yeah.
I always said that. Okay, look, I said that on Howard Stern. Okay, that was my foreign policy expertise. We were judging this butt cheek, and then I got asked about Iraq. Okay. Bill Clinton's actually done worse on the golf course, quite frankly.
Hey, can you hold the floor? I got a baby thing, and it'll take me just a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Can discuss the neocons. It's, y'all seen my work. You know what I'm gonna say.
How you doing, Reed? Can you hear us?
Hey,
okay.
Can you guys hear me right now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you
Yeah.
guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I just want to explain to everyone what's going on. My internet went down, and my phone. I'm jumping back and forth between my computer and my phone, and sometimes my hotspot runs my computer better, and sometimes it works better on my phone. So I can hear everything that's being said, but I'm obviously zoning in and out, which really sucks because I love this live stream. This is really cool. We'll have to try it again when I have better internet connection.
Yeah.
But,
hey, it happens, Reed. It's okay, man. We're having
really
a good combo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for putting this together. It's so much fun. It's worth getting up early here, man. You can get Edgelord Dawson, dude, streaming from Japan, dude, holding it down.
Yeah, it doesn't get much more base than this. You got the Palestinian and the Confederate flag hanging in the background there. You're on Dawson's show.
JFK too.
See both of those.
Yeah, it's outrageous. The whole thing's outrageous.
We were just talking. We were asking Dawson if he thinks God King is going to come back in 24. So
yeah, I heard.
We don't know. Yeah. It's. I think DeSantis could be the heir apparent, Mike, if it's not Don Jr.
Yeah, Yeah, that was. I mean, yeah, absolutely, dude. The Magaverse, dude, like the extended Marvel universe. They love Don Jr. You know, they love DeSantis too. So it's either, if it's not the king, it's going to be someone the king anoints. It's going to be king approved. Okay, go ahead. He's okay. Do the Chucky, Eric.
Yeah.
Like Chucky.
We live for him, Reed. We fucking live for him. Hey, how about the poll? What about the poll results? Reed put out a poll asking who was the most based on Twitter, and you had Scott Horton, Ryan.
Wife
the
got
fact
him.
that Dave Smith is leading that poll just shows that nobody knows who any of those people are other than Dave Smith. Because Dave is based, but it goes Ryan, Pete, Scott, Dave for sure. I mean, if you know these people, that's the level of base. It's not even close. So
That's
Ryan's based.
It's Ryan's here. Pete is like just below him, and then it's Scott Horton and Dave down low. I mean, everyone tells the truth, but as far as like who's going to say the controversial I mean, the guy who's removed from like every single platform because he's too based, he kind of wins. So if you guys don't know Ryan, you got to start following him on the ANC.
why I like Dave Smith and Scott Horton. Which keeper are you talking about?
Pete Quinones.
Oh, sure, for sure.
You do it with humor too,
I'm on his show on Wednesday, actually.
One of my favorite skits you did recently was the one where you dressed up as the Antifa. You had like the hat, and you were like doing like a memorial tribute to one of the guys who died in Kenosha. And it was, it was like, dude, that's like edgy freaking satirical shit that like the best comedians aren't even doing now, and it's like.
I thought that skit was funny too, and all anybody did was talk about how big my arms were or whatever.
Dude, as someone who does comedy,
it's because I was going like that, I don't know. I was trying to act like a guy who's acting like he's tough.
But I think you just had a bowl of chili that day. You were just kind of puffing out a little bit.
I can't remember her name. I was just like acting like this, like because I always slouch and sit on my feet and whatever. But I was like, I felt like a girl. I was like, oh, I make a video and they're just talking about my appearance.
Right?
He was objectified for his beauty,
Not just a pretty face. Ryan Dawson's more than that, folks. I mean, I'm not gay, but he's a good-looking man. And every time he comes to Texas, we go to the gun range. We have steak together. We eat beans out of a can underneath these, these skies. And we talk about Santa Ana and the Alamo. Why don't you come on down to the gun range? I'll teach you how to shoot. Infowars.com. but no, Ryan, what I like too about what you do, man, is you really do wade into some dark waters, and but
I don't think getting banned on stuff makes you more based, but like as far as I think Scott Horton has done so many great interviews on a broad range of topics, and like on Afghanistan he's got me, and on Waco he's got me. On Epstein, I don't even think he does Epstein, so I win that one.
Yeah, you're OG Epstein,
and I win 9/11 on everybody. But man, it's not a pissing contest. All those guys are awesome, but I'll take the base title. I like. Why not? I did get banned on a lot of shit. So.
Well, you still have a sense of humor, Ryan. That's what my point is. It's important. Because there's a lot of dark shit in this world, man. But it's also still important to enjoy your life as much as you can and have a sense of humor.
Dave Smith's the funniest. He's an actual comedian.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm funny to dark people that get it, but other people are like, God damn, I can't believe you just said that.
Hey, Ryan, I got a question for you. Since we were talking earlier how we were Tulsi supporters, and then Trump is better than Biden or whatever. It just shows like what a hopeless state we're in as libertarians. We've gone from Ron Paul to.
It's like, do you want to get shot in the leg or both legs?
So,
I guess one.
Yeah. So, what's your?
You want to get shot in the leg? You just said you want to get shot in the leg. I was like, no, I said I'd rather that than two. That's what it was like.
So.
Trump versus Biden. I'm like, well, bullet in the ass is better than the neck. I don't know.
So I don't know if you're familiar with what Dave Smith is doing in the Libertarian Party. He's trying to, with the Mises Caucus, he's trying to bring the Ron Paul movement back to the Libertarian Party instead of the Republican Party. I know last time we talked, you're a believer in secession, that we're dead. And I mean, we kind of agree with that in the Libertarian Party too. But what do you think about what Dave's trying to do in the Libertarian Party? If you're,
I'll tell you a couple things that hurt the Libertarian Party. because for a while, like during that whole Ron Paul wave, the two most recent times he ran for president, and they got out all this information about the Federal Reserve. He had all these news being like, do you know the Fed makes money? I'm like, yes. But it was great to hear that over and over. Something that didn't annoy me. Having a teenager talking to you about the Federal Reserve was exciting because that just didn't happen, 15 years ago or something. And Ron Paul and Bill Still and some others, but Ron Paul really like made that cool or whatever and well known. And then it sort of laid it out. And what happened was huge subversion. And I don't think it was on purpose or whatever, but you had people like Adam Kokesh and his cult that were like such purists. They're really anarchists more than libertarians. That any little fucking cunt hair difference between libertarians, they're like statist, and all dogpile on the person because I'm a better anarchist than you. And David Rovick made a song about it. I'm a better anarchist than you. I dumpster dive deeper or whatever. He has a great fucking song about it. And a problem with libertarians is it's like herding cats. They all go different. You can herd animals. You can get cows and horses and stuff, but libertarians are like cats. You're like, fuck you, I'm going this way. And there ain't cats don't listen to you. And we got a huge problem with the kind of anarchists that took over the party. So just because it's really hard to sell normies right out the door on get rid of police and roads and what, you can't. So what I tried, I wrote a book, The Separation of Business and State. I say, look, the two main issues that you can approach progressives, Republicans, whatever about is corporate bailouts. Everyone's against them except for corporations. You know what? Everybody, left, right, center, are like, yeah, we should not have given Goldman Sachs millions and millions of dollars. Right? Everybody disagrees with it. So like, get rid of corporate bailouts and pointless wars. Right? That would get you the anti-war movement and like this sort of anti-Wall Street corruption, which is most of it. Right? And then you can start trying to explain the economics to, how everything the government gets involved in turns to shit, makes it more expensive and da-da-da-da. But like, you got to get your foot in the door, and people aren't starting with B or A. They're starting with Y and Z. They're going straight to and abolish the courts. And I'm like, no, no, pedal it back a little bit. But I see so many purists, and it's like the thing that Reed asked me about earlier, like, if I go on someone's show, now they're all responsible for anything I've ever said or even been accused of saying. And so they isolate themselves. And it's just like the same people talking to each other, Tom Woods and Lou Rockwell and da-da-da-da. And they're in a bubble and don't realize it. And they're not really engaging with these other groups. Now, I do. I can go on TRS and I can go on the Libertarian Institute. And then I can go to this and I can go to that. But that's rare. I don't know anyone else doing that. That will go and whatever, oh yeah, I'll go on Democracy Now. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. They probably wouldn't let me, but
yeah,
I'll go on Press TV. I'll go on RT. I'll go on, and I'll say what but a lot of them aren't doing that. They go in purity spirals, but that the Kokeshing and Peter Schiffing of the movement, where it was just like, you better be, you can't even be 90% on board. You got to be 100% or you suck.
That's the kind of stuff, Ryan, that's turned me off from the Libertarian Party and why I've never officially joined them and why I stay independent.
And the Mr. What's Aleppo.
Oh God, yeah. I drove Gary Johnson all around New Hampshire, and I worked for his campaign in 2012 here. So
he was just a Democrat that wanted to smoke weed. He wasn't libertarian. Just like Bill Maher called himself a libertarian for a long time. I'm like, you're a Democrat that wants to legalize drugs. You're not a libertarian. There's a lot more to the Libertarian Party than you shouldn't go to jail for a plant.
Right.
Right. So that hurt. But like, if I'm explaining to people, like, I don't even care if you're not a libertarian. If you will be against pointless wars in corporate welfare, good enough. Because that's the main two things I want to change anyway.
Right. That's big picture stuff. And Reed and I talk about this a lot. I mean, I've moved a little towards like healthcare for all, helping Americans, like not using the money that we spend to destroy other countries and occupy other countries in belligerent empire, and use some of that to help our people. So I've never really heard you talk about Medicare for all, Ryan. I mean, I'm sure you're probably not
it's
big on it, but what would your
it
take
looks
be
good
on
on paper, but like we have Veterans Affairs, government healthcare, and it sucks because we're talking about our government, and our government is, from Lincoln to now, it's just been a dystopian nightmare. If you look at things like the healthcare in America doesn't suck, the price sucks.
Right.
The problem is not the actual surgery or drugs, it's the cost. And the reason it costs so much is not the reason. There are many reasons, but some of the reasons are Medicare and Medicaid, frivolous extensions on patents and stuff for, just changing one isotope and getting, war on generics, insurance for healthcare because you can't cross state lines, so they get rid of market competition that would bring the price down. And then most of all, you have government regulation that will legally prevent the volume discount pricing that Medicare and Medicaid ought to be able to negotiate. They're not allowed to do. So it just ends up, if you're old or you're poor, it's free, but everybody else in the middle is getting smashed by big pharma and the ones who actually wrote these regulations. But the regulation itself comes from the government. The government is the problem because these corporations don't have any power without it. They have to bribe those in charge to do it, and those in charge are the ones that are hammering it. But it's the idea of like, well, if we didn't spend $1 trillion on imperial escapades in the Middle East fighting Israel's wars, we could pay for everyone's health care. Except we couldn't, because the price would just keep going up. The more money you have to dump in it, the more it's going to cost. Like, they don't even have open books. If someone has cancer, what's it cost? How much you have? It's a percent of whatever you got. The more you got, the more it costs. So to bring the price down, there's a number of things you could do other than universal health care to bring the price down. But when you look at where you do have market competition, things like if you go to the dentist or you're getting plastic surgery or eye surgery or certain things that aren't covered by Medicaid and Medicare, it's not a problem. You don't lose everything going to the dentist in the United States. You do in the UK. But like and veterinarian stuff too. If your pet gets sick, or whatever, we have good care for animals, and we have good care for teeth and eyeballs. Just got to get the rest of the healthcare system on the same system, which we had. But it's government regulation, and before somebody fucking loses their shit and be like, "We need regulation." Like, I am not blanketly saying regulation is bad or deregulation is good. It depends on what the regulation is. It's a case-by-case thing. Like Glass-Steagall was a regulation I'd agree with. One of the rare ones. But most of the time, if there's a regulation, it's not for you. It's by the corporate interests that wrote it. And so we need to deregulate these things that are stifling market competition. You don't have to. If you allowed a negotiation on Medicare and Medicaid, those prices would come down, and then you wouldn't have to tax people so much. Which would lower the price across the board. If you had open books, I went over to a long podcast with this guy, Dr. Philip Gerson, about what we need to do to fix healthcare. And it's not like, but in Europe, blah, blah, blah. Well, Europe doesn't have 300 million people in 50 different states, and And also, parasites flock to the biggest host. We have the most money, so we have the most lobbyists. So it's harder to change here than it is in Liechtenstein or whatever. They're not having the same problems. And we also need preventative medicine. Like, all these people that are killing themselves with sugar and everything else, aren't helping. Like, you've got child obesity rates, you've got lots of drug use, there's an opioid crisis, and all that also raises the price because most of those people are doing it on the dole. And it just makes it more expensive for everyone else. And it's like, you could not even be in that situation if you weren't subsidizing corn syrup and this and that and all the stuff that, prices. A lot of people who are poor basically have to eat Walmart food because that's what they can get. And over time, that fucks them up. We have an inflammation problem. We have sedentary lifestyles. There's so many preventative things we could do, like before we even end up in the hospital. But the craziest crap right now is the virus, that people who are missing cancer treatments because there's no room in the hospital, even though there is, because people were overreacting to a chest cold, while people with fucking cancer can't get a room, and when they do, they have to visit their family members one at a time, wearing 2 masks, probably an anal plug in the future. And now they're talking about nose mask.
Oh yeah,
which I think should be a red ball. It should be a clown nose.
It's peak clown world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the things that are wrong with our healthcare system all have to do with price. And so the argument that they do is they always talk about who's paying for it. Like, should your employer pay for it? Should you pay out of pocket? Should your insurance pay? Should a combination of your insurance or the government or you? It doesn't matter. If like I tore my hamstring in the US and I did have insurance and it still cost me like $600 to get an x-ray and some crutches. And I ended up doing the same thing to the same leg in Japan, cost me $29. Now, if the government had to pay $29, they could handle it. If I had to pay $29 out of pocket, I can handle it. If my employer had to pay $29, they can handle it. Because it's only $29. It doesn't matter who pays. It's how much you got to pay that matters. $600. Whoever had to pay that got fucked. If it was me, my employer, my insurance company, that sucks. It shouldn't cost that much. Why does it cost that much? Because they can charge that much.
Because there's rackets around all of that.
Well, because everybody that does qualify for Medicare and Medicaid, they're like, doesn't matter. The government's paying, so we're going to make a $600 x-ray. And that's just what it is. And then the ones that just barely don't qualify for that, now they got to pay the full price. And that's the price. And they're like, what do you want to, what else are you going to do? Go to the other hospital, charge the same thing? There's no market competition or open books. And there's lots of other stuff like the equipment, the paperwork they have to deal with. Like they got to hire people just to deal with all the papers and stuff. If you go and say, how much is blank? They don't even know. Like, what's it cost for, I don't know, like an x-ray or something? What's it cost for a sonogram? What's it cost? They don't know. It's like, how much you got? And so we had a serious analysis on the way things are priced and why they're so high and why they don't allow market competition. So many easy things that could be done in a day to lower the cost of healthcare. The quality is not the issue. It's the price. Everybody's like, it's the fucking price. Now, if you're getting the free stuff, even though it's so expensive tax-wise, the quality isn't so good. It's like, what does it matter? You're on Medicaid. Eat a dick, and then I also think there's a lot of pointless stuff like circumcision. I'm like, that doesn't need to be a line item, like chopping off a piece of a baby's dick. Like, why does that even occur?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Sir, would you like me to chop off a piece of your son's penis? No, I don't. But if you do, that's another thing that is just put on the tab, which is why it exists, right? It's another line item, which shows you, because I'll argue with anybody about circumcision. It's not, I live in a place, 125 million people, none of them have it, right? Because they're like, that's sick. And they're not having urinary tract infections or I mean, clean your dick. It's not a big deal. You clean it anyway, right? You got to clean it anyway.
Clean under the hood.
I think you can clean that extra skin, whatever. All the arguments again, aesthetics, whatever. Especially women are like, oh, like the way it looks. I'm like, oh, whoa. You got to tell what happened to the walls off my body and whatever. But it's there because it costs money, and that lets you know that they are in the business of making money, not health. They don't give a shit about a baby. You think they care about you? No. They're like, oh, you need this checked? And like, it's a doctor. Like, I guess I need that too. They'll talk you into it because that's another line item. And I don't give a fuck. Like all the people they put on ventilators, like 80% of them died, whatever. Like they'll sit there and do the math. I'm like, how much can we get for this hospital bed? Like, it's that sick. That's why a lot of people don't do organ donating. They're like, I don't know, if I'm hurt enough and my organs look good, they might let me die so they can sell my organs. And like, is that really a thing? Yes, it is. Talk to people at hospitals. Like, yes, they will.
Prince Philip needs all the organs he can get.
Yeah, he's got to make it to 100. Yeah, we got to get him.
That's why all these queens live to be like 120.
They're eating the babies, Ryan.
They keep replacing parts.
I got the baby parts, folks. I got the baby adrenochrome, Infowars.com.
But yeah, anyway, the American healthcare problem
it's a
is
for-profit
a
enterprise
problem and a preventative problem. That's the two things we need to change. So
Makes
less
sense.
government. Again, you need less. Get rid of these regulations and get rid of these restrictions on market competition between states, between insurance, between drugs, and so on, and the prices would come down. Market competition makes prices fall. Duh.
Kick all those cockroach lobbyists out too. Ban them.
Hey, he kept his underwear. I kept my underwear on.
Yeah.
I kept my underwear on.
Yeah.
God.
It was on. It was around my ankles.
Oh. No, it was on his face.
You know
It
the
was his
best part
mouth.
of this picture? You see the penis here? You can't because it's true to scale.
Oh, sad that the victims got to be the ones to keep it out in the out in the discourse, because we have such a short friggin' TikTok attention span now in our culture and country that it's like,
I was just saying that same thing. I was talking to Kirby Summers, and I was like, when's the last time a 3-letter network talked about Epstein
in a meaningful way?
Like, it's been in some newspapers or
Yeah.
magazines like Vanity Fair, Miami Herald or something, but it's not like on Tucker Carlson or something. It's not on like the talking heads part of the news, and hasn't been since he got arrested or since he died. Perhaps it's the last time they talked about it. And I think the only reason that, because Nygaard and Nexium didn't get any media, and that was, they were shitting in girls' mouths and anal raping them and branding them like cows, and no news. The only reason Epstein got any wind at all is because there's pictures of him with Trump, and they thought, we can take down Donald Trump with this, and the media is steadfastly anti-Trump, and not because of any of the dumb shit he did. It was all identitarian politics and crap, and because he wouldn't go to war, he wouldn't do enough bad shit, so they went after him. And when they found out, Trump hates Epstein and Maxwell, had a real estate dispute with him, they fucking can't stand each other. End of story. Even though Clinton and Andrew and the Dubins and all these other, prominent billionaires are all over this stuff, nothing. As soon as it wasn't Trump, they didn't give a shit.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of photos of Trump, Epstein, and Maxwell together for sure, and with the families, but there's a lot with the Clintons too. So, do you think that Epstein actually had anything tangible on Trump or Clinton?
Well, Epstein was trying to buy property adjacent to Mar-a-Lago, which used to be Wexner Properties, and it went to this other guy who then got in trouble and had to liquidate it. So they were going to buy it back, but Trump also wanted to buy it because then he could expand Mar-a-Lago into that.
He snatched it from Epstein, didn't he?
He did. And, they used to bring him lunch, and like, Trump's crying under the covers. He doesn't have any money, but his investment in Hyatt did well. And then he had The Apprentice, and he was able to get the money and expand his property, which they hated. And you got to understand that Mark Epstein and Charles Kushner were real estate rivals in New York. Robert Maxwell and Rupert Murdoch were media rivals in the UK and Australia. And then Les Wexner and Ehud Barak are mortal enemies of Netanyahu. So it's the left-wing Zionist versus the right-wing Zionist. They're all Zionists. Like, that's the thing. And so most of Epstein's connections are all hardcore Democrats, with the exception of the Schoensteins, who sort of just gave the both. But Wexner was, with the exception of the Dubins were. Oh, I'm hearing the echo again. Whatever. But Wexner was. And then the other side is all Republicans. The Charles Kushner, Jared Kushner, and Rupert Murdoch. He owned Fox and Sky, and they're all hardcore right-wing imperialists, versus the Clintons and all who were hardcore left-wing imperialists. But they didn't like each other, and that was all before Trump was president. So the guy they're fucking with and trying to get their property ended up being the president of the United States, and Jeffrey Epstein ended up in jail. Finally.
Right. Do you think Trump directed that? Like, do you think Trump ordered that, or do you think? I mean, because obviously Barr was problematic with his connections, going back, to the Daltons. His father with the Dalton School, his time Iran Contra with the CIA, obviously. But do you think Trump was like, okay, we're gonna lock this guy up?
William Barr and Christopher Wray made money off of Rosemont Sitka and all the Biden farms with the not Sibnef, the Russian gas company.
Rosneft?
Yeah, Rosneft. It used to be called something else, Gazprom or whatever, same shit. So yeah, Rosneft was negotiating with Rosemont Sitka and China Energy. And Christopher Wray made $21 million off of it. Like, that was like Trump. Why isn't one of us saying, hey, the guys you have policing this are in on this, right?
Yeah,
but
Acosta.
Yeah, exactly. There's another example, right? And that's why that was a story, though. Oh, Acosta is in the Trump administration. Here's pictures of Trump with Epstein. That's why it blew up. And then the moment it didn't really go anywhere with that, they didn't care. And it was like, you have the royal family, you've got the Clintons, you've got
Bill Richardson.
Yeah, you've got governors, senators.
Senator Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Yep, you got Senator Mitchell in there.
Macy.
And then if you pulled on the thread of it, where's my map? I should have had it.
Do you have Mick Jagger on your map?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
There's photos of him with Ghislaine. He was also in the Black Book.
But, he's. I didn't put everybody who had a photo in there because that's like, Elon.
Yeah,
lots of people have photos. I put the map is just like accused of or found guilty of already some kind of crime. Then you got on the map.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be never-ending map. Like,
yeah, because I think what a big part of it was they were obviously trying to get in with influential people from tech, from Silicon Valley, from arts and entertainment. So yeah, having a photo with one of them doesn't automatically make you guilty, because I think
they went after like Steve Pinker and stuff, and he not into that. It's
right.
They were just, like hell. Glenn Maxwell's at the UN several times, 9 times. With her Ocean Terramar.
Oh, Terramar, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, but the thing is, that charity, they're like, oh, they're laundering money through a charity. I was like, no, way worse than that. That gives her a pretext to get into the UN and rub elbows with all those people who she can then target for honey traps. And those are some of the powerful people from all the countries in the world that matter. And she's able to schmooze and dine with them and, find a weak point and get them. And there is Epstein ring. He had property in Paris, and that wasn't just because of the modeling agencies that set up. Because that
Gates stayed there.
MC Squared was actually a French company whose American branch was converted to MC Squared. It was bought. The original MC Squared is out of Tel Aviv. Shocking, right? And Burnell was getting models through there. Now he was getting girls from Ukraine mostly, and all in Eastern Europe. It's disgusting. And I mean girls like 12, and sending them down through that.
Then you have
with Karen models first. It's Karen spelled differently, but out of France, and then Karen Models branch became MC Squared in New York and Miami. New York and Florida for sure, but it was New York City. I think it was Miami, and they had Tel Aviv as the other office. It's like they just use that as a front, as like a legitimate way to go model recruiting or whatever, to find good-looking children, basically, and teenagers, and say, "Oh yeah, we'll bring you here for modeling this and that," and then take their passport and really get on your knees and suck it. Fucking abuse these people, passed a lot of them around, and then either hooked them on drugs or got rid of them. Wow. And they're like, what do we do? We've seen presidents here. We've seen, we're powerless. And they flaunted it right in front of them. And like, go ahead, go to the police. Darren Endike's got them bribed, in Palm Beach. But we finally are getting some justice. Nobody would believe them. And it was like, they pissed off Trump. That guy became president. And he started throwing him in jail. And boy, no credit for that. You know the time where he's like, "I wish her well," to Maxwell.
That was everything.
That is what she said. That is exactly what she said to him when he was going bankrupt. So it was a little slight directly at her.
He's like, I don't know her. I wish her well. I do. I wish her well, Ryan.
Hey, I want to apologize to everyone for my technical difficulties on this end, but Ryan, thank you for coming on so much. We'll have to do it again when I actually have internet and, I can be more a part of the conversation instead of chasing the signal over here. But why don't you just tell everyone where they can find you still now that you've been
hey, we got a donation
everywhere.
Daughter of a Broken System just sent 10 euros and says, thanks for the conversation with Reed and the Jackmans, Anderson brothers.
Oh, thank you.
I added the last part, but
he's Ric Flair though, Mike, isn't he, Dawson?
I gotta be Flair.
That was like when we asked Jesse.
He's from Carolina. So
yeah.
Oh, is he? The nature boy.
I have the fucking robe right here.
He has it, Mike.
We're going to do one where you dress up and we get some bottles going, and we'll have Eric do Ventura. That's outrageous.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah, you got to have stress relief somehow.
Absolutely.
I loved pro wrestling growing up. There it is. Right there. I was trying to get this part.
Oh, nice. I got the chance to meet Roddy Piper about a year before he passed. And
awesome.
He autographed the They Live poster for me. He wrote, "To Mike, I'm all out of bubblegum." Roddy Piper. Yeah.
I was supposed to be on his show. He had just interviewed Ronda Rousey, and I was gonna go on the Piper's Pit because he was talking about Hogan. He was saying he's not a racist. It was during this Gawker crap, and Hogan won that trial, but then he passed away. And I was like, man, another Piper in June. It was because Michael Piper passed about 2 years before that, and I missed the interview with him too. I mean, I did one on JFK, but not RFK. But anyway, where you can reach me is ancreport.com, and that's got links to everything else. I am in Telegram and Discord, although that was oven once. We got it back, a new one. Telegram, Discord, Parler, and we've built something on PeerTube where I can live stream, and a lot of the old videos are on there. And I'm trying to do as many people's shows as possible to make ends meet, because eventually mine will build up again, I think. I mean, I've done this before, but it's way easier before I had 3 kids, but it will build up, but it sucks. And it's like everybody having me on is rolling the dice because they're like, well, that guy's always getting censored. I don't want to get censored. But I always pull my punches when I'm in someone else's show, though. Like I've figured out, like, okay, you asked me about the above mega, and I'm like, I'm not saying that, because then Reed will lose his thing. Like I don't say that.
I guess I wasn't thinking too deeply there. Sorry about that. Infowars.com.
We went into 9/11 without going too far into 9/11, and I know what I wanted to say, but I was like, yeah. It sucks, but it's like at the same time, it's like, ooh, look, this guy's so spicy they don't want him to talk. Maybe that makes him more alluring, but it doesn't, because people can't find where you are. So ANC report, that's like anti-neocon ANC. ANCreport.com. There's a picture there. It says fuck YouTube, and that is where FAHQ. That's where our video platform is. And I'm going to warn you, if you go in there, there is no censorship. So,
yeah, I got to admit, Ryan, I was a little bit nervous having you on, because I was telling Eric this last night. I was like, Ryan is not used to having to be careful about what he says for like the last 2 months, because he hasn't been on YouTube. So I was like, my YouTube channel's done if I have him on.
Because I had Atwood's show, it was on his Patreon, and he was like, it's not YouTube, it's Patreon, so you can say what you want to say. And I was like, no, you can't. I've banned on that too. I'll go up to the wall and stop, because it's like, even Mega Group, like you can say Mega Group, but if you start getting detailed, goodbye. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to let you get into it. So That's why I used to get on people's cases because they always say generalized shit like globalist, elite, Luciferians, deep state, stuff like that. I'm like, why don't I get you summarizing, but if you don't ever get into specifics, those terms are kind of useless, right? Who are you talking about? Say it, you know?
Yeah, well, you have Q idiots saying globalists, and then that becomes the poster child, you know?
Well, it's Alex Jones, man. Like all the NWO and you know,
Globalists, Chi-Coms, Chinese communists.
Chi-Coms. I forgot
Chi-Coms.
Chi-Coms. You know, and then anytime China, you know, obviously China's going to do fucked up shit. Oh, Alex predicted that. Why? Because he said Chi-Com, and then China, like the whole country, did a thing. You know, that's not a predicted shit. You know, if you want to talk about something from Bo Xilai or Xi Jinping or some person that was, you know, that's more solid. And I've had those kind of shows where we've gone into Chinese corruption and this and that, the Communist Party and all, but like that you can't talk about on YouTube either. It's like they get a lot of money from China. So if you want to say some anti-China stuff, get ready. You know, the boot's coming. That's why when we were talking about the Biden crime map, I just kind of flashed the thing and didn't actually say it because I'm like, you know, that's another one that'll get you booted. Basically everything I'm into will get you in trouble. So, but I'd really appreciate it if people would become a member on my site, even if it's the $5 a month thing. That's like the peasant level. We got peasants, artisans, knights, paladins, and rainbow frogs. The peasant level is pretty cool because you get MP3s of all the videos that used to exist. That way, if you're listening on your phone or something, it doesn't eat up all your data. You can just not be watching the video and listen to the MP3, which is pretty cool. And there's a couple other perks for peasants. And artisan gets the archive of all the Civil War stuff, which and woodsheds, I believe. And there's like 92 woodsheds. I had a lot of hate back in the day. And they're ongoing. Paladin gets all that in the forum and comments and some Discord perks and the Listen Live, which is over 200 and something handpicked podcasts from whatever year. They're not like timely. It's like history stuff or something that would still be relevant, you know. And then Rainbow Frogs get all of that, and they got a calendar and stickers and all this. You actually have a Rainbow Frog sticker now.
It's incredible.
The harbinger of good news. Anytime you see this frog, it means like a neocon just died or something. And some kind of good news. Like when Sheldon Adelson died, I had dancing frogs all over the screen with rainbows and frogs.
Well, yeah, no, it's been great chatting with you guys, and I'm glad we could put this together. And that's nice.
That's your wife,
right? Yeah, this part's great. This one kind of sucks, but trying to find my calendar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, so on here though, there's Rainbow Frog Days. Like, you know, actually 2 days ago was the 25th, or at least in Japan, it was 2 days ago. And looking on the calendar, that was John McCain's Still Dead Day. So you can celebrate that John McCain is still dead at the 25th of every month because he died August 25th. Yeah. Kick a Ginger Day is coming up. Oh, it's the Worm Moon. So Native Americans have names for each of the full moons on different months. And March is the Worm Moon. And that is tomorrow night for us. Sweet. 23rd, Boris Berezovsky died. So that was a Rainbow Frog Day. He's a piece of shit Russian oligarch. The day before that was when the president of Israel, Moshe Katsav, was sentenced to jail for rape. So this calendar is like a this day in history thing, except telling the truth. And it celebrates every time some fucker got their comeuppance. Not every time, but, you know, that's a lot of the calendar is just
Keystone dates.
Shit died. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, boys.
When Maxwell has her trial, you know that's going to be on 2021.
We're going to be all over it, man.
Yeah. Keep on rocking, Ryan.
Yeah, you know, this is great in a way because I really can't get in any more trouble. I've lost all the major platforms already, and now we've built our own. So if you want to come over to PeerTube just as backup and start putting your stuff on there, I'd highly recommend that. And the other thing is we can federate. So on YouTube, the recommended videos can be whatever. It could be like K-pop. It could be, but ours is just politics and dank memes.
All right. Well, I'm going to end the stream while I actually have control on my computer. But I have ANC report in the link, so go check out Ryan. I've had,
awesome.
A lot of you guys don't know any of these guys. You don't know Ryan. You don't know Carrie. Like, go check them out. They're great. They're censored for a reason. But thank all you guys for coming on. I got Jackman Radio's link in YouTube. Go subscribe to Jackman Radio. Go follow them on Facebook and Twitter. And thank you everyone for tuning in. And we'll have to do this again when I actually have internet, because this has been the live stream from hell, but it was still fun and it was a good conversation. So
I just tried to keep talking and carry it because I knew you couldn't respond. So I was like, I'll just go. And then, both Jackmans can handle it. They've all interviewed lots of people too. So I like the impressions. I like this kind of format, and it'll work better. Yeah, the internet will work better next time. It's all good.
Yeah, it was great. And Ryan, you're kind of like Scott Horton. I could just say like one word and just let you go for an hour, and I don't even have to say anything. So thanks for carrying the conversation.
I've heard that before. That when I sub for Mike Rivera or whatever, the control room goes to sleep. Like, oh, he'll just go. He'll just talk for 3 hours and just segue, no dead air. I'm like, well, I guess that's good. I don't know. Unless you're having dinner with me. No.
One day
I'm gonna end it.
I'm pretty quiet when in real life. I just like to hear other people, but I don't know. Like, I feel like if I'm on a show, it's my duty to like spill a bunch of information. Otherwise, why am I here? I don't know. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, boys.
All right, guys, take care.